Welcome to the 5-Minute Leadership Podcast, where we are going to help you solve your leadership shortage. My son has been recommending a leadership book to me for several years. He reads it over and over and over, and he said he's given away around 100 copies. I finally read it now that I'm finished with all of my forced Asbury reading, and he was right. This is one of the most encouraging, inspirational leadership books I have read in many years. Setting the Table by Danny Meyer. Danny Meyer is the founder and owner of Union Square Cafe, along with other highly acclaimed and highly profitable restaurants in New York City. In this book, he tells a story about one of the most important leadership lessons he learned, and I've repeated this lesson and this story over and over and over the last few weeks. It's really helped me, and I hope it'll help you. He talks about when he was in his 20s, his first restaurant was open and it was growing explosively, but he was frustrated with what was going on. And he sat down with an older restaurant owner who was mentoring him. They were in one of his tables at his restaurant. He was complaining about his waiters, the problems they were causing, and the chef and the people doing the reservations, and even the customers that were causing massive frustration. And when he finished all of his complaints, his old mentor asked him to move everything off the table where they were sitting. Every fork, every plate, every glass, the napkins, everything except for the salt shaker. This older gentleman handed the salt shaker to Danny and he said, place the salt shaker exactly where you want it, in the center of the table. And so Danny meticulously got the salt shaker and put it in what he thought was the center, and no sooner had he set it down than his mentor moved it and said, put it back. So Danny took it, put it back in the center, and then he moved it slightly. And then Danny moved it back in the center, and then the guy moved it right to the edge of the table. And he said, put it back, and he put it back in the center. And that went on and on, kind of a Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off type of moment. And what the mentor got to, he said, listen, everyone will move that salt shaker. The salt shaker represented the culture, the values, the mission, the vision, the organization you're trying to build. He said, your employees will do it. Your cooks will do it. The press will do it. Even the customers, everybody will constantly, he said, but what leadership is all about is constantly, every day, putting it back where it's supposed to be, putting things in order. Some people will move the salt shaker because they're just not good people and they're trying to mess with you, or they're trying to mess up the organization, the church, the ministry, whatever you're leading, and so they're going to keep on moving it just because that's how they are. That's not most people, though. Most people are either way too busy and they think they put it in the right place, but they put it there and then you have to go and move it back. Some people actually think it should be there because they don't really understand the culture and they don't really understand the vision. They're really not sure what we're trying to do, and you keep putting it back. It moves, you put it back. It moves, you put it back, day in, day out. And what this mentor finally said to this young restaurant owner, he said, the day you get tired of moving the salt shaker back to the center is the day you need to quit. Because that's what leadership is. It's constantly moving the values, the culture, the mission back to the center, and life and activity and entropy will move it to the wrong place, and you just keep on putting it back. The ultimate lesson that this young restaurant owner got out of that was his leadership style. And the way he described it was consistent, gracious pressure. It's consistent, gracious pressure of putting the values and culture back where they go. And you know what happens is if you're consistent and gracious, but there's never pressure, the salt shaker never ends up back where it's supposed to be. If we're gracious and give pressure, but we're not consistent, then nobody really knows what the standards are and what they're not and what's acceptable and what's not. It's consistent, gracious pressure. That's how we lead. That's the lesson from this famous restaurant owner that I think applies to no matter what we're leading. Consistent, gracious pressure. That's what leaders do.